Hey everyone, it's Chantel, also known as Shani Blossom, and I'm back with another video. This video was actually requested by a subscriber, and I'm so thankful that she reached out and decided to request this video because it's relevant to what we're dealing with now, and that has been the pandemic, COVID-19. A lot of people have been affected by COVID-19. Some people have passed away. Some people have had COVID-19. Some people have not had COVID-19. And what we're currently dealing with in America is COVID-19 and how it affects education. And some of you may know and some of you may not know, but I am a speech language pathologist. I have a video detailing what a speech language pathologist is and what a speech language pathologist does. So if you have not watched that video, I would advise you to go view it because a lot of people don't know what I do as my profession or what my profession does. So I would, request that you go watch that video, and it's very informative. But I basically work in a school district. Currently, I used to work in a private practice. I started out in the schools first, private practice after that, and then I decided to jump right back into the school district for various reasons, and I can do another video about that probably later. But today's topic is going to be about teletherapy. And for those of you who do not know what teletherapy is, it's basically when a professional who provides therapy services provides that service through I would say an internet platform instead of doing it physically one-on-one. So everything that I would do with the student in a school, I now have to do on the internet on a screen with the students that I provide services for. And it's been a lot different, and there was kind of like this uproar within the United States of America about how was school going to look this upcoming fall. And for my personal school district, since I work in North Carolina, our governor gave each school district reins on how to proceed. So at first we were going to go back, and that meant that I had to go back to school 3 days out of the week, and then I would be working with the special education students who would have to come back 3 days per week, and then regular education students who did not have any type of services, or maybe they received services but they were not in special education. They only had to come 1 day per week. But then they changed it about a week or a week and a half later, and now we are moving to remote learning. And for those of you all who don't know what remote learning is when you have to receive your education through an internet-based platform. So you have to receive your education at home. You cannot go into the school system. And I believe they decided upon that decision based upon rising cases of COVID-19 within my particular state. And so that's what my state has mandated. We are doing remote learning. They're going to check back every 2 weeks to see if we can go back into the schools or not. Right now, we're starting off on the computer screen. So when COVID-19 happened, I did receive guidance from my supervisor, and she's completely 100% awesome. I have one of the best supervisors that I feel like I could work for within a school district as a speech language pathologist. And so when it all first happened, I didn't provide therapy services for like a good 2 weeks. What we were instructed to do was to call all of our parents and families and just check on them and see if they wanted services, because we had to shorten the time frame of all services. We could not do any more testing. There were kids that we were supposed to assess and test. We could no longer do that anymore. So we still had to conduct IEPs and things like that, individualized education plans, but we were not doing virtual therapy at the time because our school district did not want to use Zoom. All we were instructed to do was to call families, ask if they wanted to even receive services, and we were going to begin doing asynchronous, I think that's the right word, therapy, where we just call. We provide therapy services over a platform, and I'll get into the platform that I use later. So I use the platform to provide therapy, but I didn't do live therapy sessions for like a couple of weeks, and then we were approved to use Microsoft Teams, and that's when I had some parents that wanted to receive their children to receive services, and I began providing therapy services virtually for those students. But at the same time, it was for a very shortened time frame. So kids who would come to me like 2 times a week for 30 minutes, I was only seeing them for like 15 minutes a week. So it was very condensed. It was very short. Parents were in disarray. Some parents were not able to stay home with their kids, so I obviously couldn't have virtual therapy sessions with them. It was just a lot of learning and trying to adjust. So it was an adjustment for everybody. So how I felt before or during COVID-19 in the spring was that I felt like I had to work a lot harder. You work hard during anything that you do, but when you have to add on the fact that you can't see that child face to face anymore, it makes it that much harder. And then parents have different schedules. Some of them work full time, so it was a lot to try to maneuver during a short time period. I also felt like once I had a schedule set, I made myself a schedule. I'm a planner by nature, so I like to have things in order and set. And once I was able to do that, it kind of like went by as a breeze. But I would say the first 2 weeks after were the hardest. Like I put in a lot of overtime. I worked very hard. It was a lot to wrap my brain around, so I'm sure it was a lot for parents and students to wrap their brains around, and I'm pretty sure it was really difficult for everybody all around, okay? And then I only was able to work with a few of my students because, like I said, some of my parents that I worked with, they had to work full-time jobs, so it was kind of like it was a learning curve for everybody. I would just say that. So that's how I felt like during the spring. How I feel now moving into this school year, knowing that we're not going back, we're doing remote learning over the internet. I personally feel a little overwhelmed, and I'm just being honest. I'm gonna be 100% honest with everybody. I feel a little overwhelmed only because I actually am moving to another school within my district, so I will not be at the same school I was at this past spring. And so that is kind of tough because the parents that I'm going to be working with don't know me. I don't know them. I don't know the students. There are still like things that I don't know about my current school that I have to learn, because I feel like they do things a little differently, and that doesn't mean it's a bad thing, because I'm willing to learn. It's just like it's almost crunch time, I feel like, and I still don't know, and it's not their fault. And it's not anyone's fault. It's just the circumstances. And I just feel like there's still missing pieces that I have to piece together on top of it being another school year. And any SLP or any speech therapist that works in the school district knows that the first couple of weeks are always kind of hectic anyway, because you have to find your students, you have to get them acclimated, you have to get in contact with parents, you have to make sure you have the right documentation, you have to have the right information, you have to know what their goals are, what they're working on. You have to deal with all of that on top of the fact that it's going to be even harder because it's going to be online and you don't know everyone's schedule, and it might not work with your schedule, and you're trying to figure out how you're going to get all of this stuff done. Also, I just feel like anytime you have to change your home environment into your work environment, it's just different. and you have to have a balance in life, because if you don't, then you can start blurring the lines. And I started feeling that way this past spring. Like, it's like, okay, I work from home, great, but at the same time I have household work, I have school work, and trying to maintain your household and school, and trying to make sure you're not blurring the lines, and you don't want to feel like the walls are caving in on you. It can be mind boggling sometimes. So it can be a lot at times. So I have to learn how to take breaks, mental breaks. I would say that's really important. Go outside, take a little 5-minute walk, and then come back after I've done my work, of course. But and one thing I found that really worked in the spring, that I'm definitely for sure incorporating into my life this upcoming fall, is that I'm going to make sure I have a set schedule of my day. So when I start in the morning, this is when I start and this is when I end. I do not work beyond that. I'm sorry. Like, you have to be able to have a balance in life, and your work and life cannot blur or cannot blend together. And at first it can seem like you want to do it, but don't. I learned my first year, after I got burnt out, because burnout is real. If you overwork yourself, you have to know when to cut work off. So when you're home, it can be a little hard to want to do that, because it's like, oh, I'm already home, like, might as well just go ahead. No, cut it off, give yourself a break. So that's what I'm going to incorporate. So that's how I felt in the spring and how I feel now. I feel a little overwhelmed, but we will see how everything goes. I want to leave on a positive note on how I feel, is that even though I feel overwhelmed, doesn't mean that I won't accomplish what I need to accomplish, because that's what I'm paid to do. I'm going to figure it out. I ask questions, I work hard, very detail oriented, and if you are an SLP, then you are more than likely all of those things as well. So we will get through this year. I will not burn myself out. I claim that right now. I will not burn myself out, and you will not burn yourself out if this is what you have to do as well. And I want to leave on a positive note by saying that the new school that I am going into, even though they do things a little bit differently than what I'm used to, they rock, because every person that I've come in contact with or gotten to know so far has been excellent and wonderful. So I'm pretty sure all the questions that I have, all of the missing pieces that are not all the way there, I will be fine. There are several people that are in my same position, my same predicament. So if they can get through it, I can get through it. If we all can get through it, we're going to be fine. We're going to make it to the end of the school year, and we're going to be fine. And I have to just be positive too. I can have all of these things that I feel, and it's okay to feel that type of way. It's okay for me to feel overwhelmed. If that's how I really feel, I have to be honest about it. But at the same time, I have to also learn that I have a part to play in it, and I can do what I need to do. Whatever I can't control, then I leave that up to God and leave it alone, and then I move forward. And that's how we all should be, okay? So resources, this is really important. So here are some of the resources that I used in the spring that worked really well with the students that I work with. I used YouTube. Check with your school if they allow that, but there are a lot of books on YouTube, and I don't have like a children's book library. There are some speech therapists that do. If you do, great. I personally don't. So I use books, because they have people that read books to kids on YouTube. I use that as a way on my platform. The platform that I used was called Seesaw. It's SEESAW, and I'll leave a link below. So I use Seesaw as my platform for all of the parents I worked with, and they would get on Seesaw and they would watch the movie, and I had pre-made questions, WH questions, if they were working on comprehension, and a lot of the students I worked with were working on comprehension. I would have questions for them to answer. So I use YouTube for books. I also use YouTube for articulation. I would find sheets of articulation to have them say, but when I was using Seesaw, I would also use the YouTube channels of Speedy Speech, and that's SPEEDY SPEECH. I used her YouTube channel, and I also used Peachy Speechy, PEACHIE SPEECHIE. Okay, those were 2 YouTube channels that I used for my Artic kids when I was using Seesaw. My platform, like I've been saying, it was Seesaw. Seesaw is absolutely, I loved it, because you can communicate with all of your families and your students. You can see who has done their work. Yeah, I won't even get into all of that, but you can see who has done their work on Seesaw. They can communicate with you on Seesaw, and you can post all of their work, and it's very interactive. They have some cool tools on there, like they can record themselves, they can draw on the task that you give them. It's very interactive. I would encourage anyone to try it out. I did my own trial of it. I did not pay for it. I used the free version, but thank goodness, this is why I say that my school rocks, because the school that I'm working for now, they just purchased Seesaw. So I'll get to use purchased Seesaw things, which is a lot better. Like, okay, but use the free version. It's still really, really good. Another website that I used was something called ABCYA.com, and I'll have all of these links below. It's kind of like an interactive game website for students, and I use that kind of like as a reward system. So if we got through all of our work and we had some free time at the end, I would click on a game that they could choose on. If I did a virtual therapy session via Microsoft Teams, I would click on the game and we would play the game, or I would use it kind of to get their attention if I found that their attention was going elsewhere. So it's kind of like a refresher as well. So reward system or a refresher. I also use something called boomlearning.com. Really, really good. They have something on there, I think, called Boom Cards, where other therapists, teachers, they make resources, and you can use points to get those resources, or you can pay for the resources. A lot of them are free. I use the free ones because guess what? I don't have a lot of money to just throw around to random things. And not saying that anything on there is random, but I'm just saying I don't have all of this money to spend on certain things. So I use what I could. I use the free information. So go on there. It's really, really interactive. It's really, really cool. They have things that can move and can maneuver. It's really, really good. I also use YouTube for songs. I had 1 or 2 students that enjoyed songs, and so sometimes, like, if they were not having a good day, or if they were feeling, you know, a little down and they needed a pick-me-up, I'll just choose a song on YouTube and share my screen and go from there on Microsoft Teams. So those are some of the resources that I use, and I received some of those resources from some of my own colleagues within my school district. So no, I did not come up with these things myself. I did not make anything myself. I use resources. Another thing I'm just thinking about it right now is teacherpayteachers.com. I know some school districts do not allow people to use those things, but there are some good resources for speech therapists on Teacher Pay Teachers, okay? Like, do not Teacher Pay Teachers. And like I said again, I did not pay for any of the resources that I use. You will have to check the copyright on some of the things on Teacher Pay Teachers, so be mindful of that. But yeah, those are the resources that I use. That's how I feel going into the school year and how I felt in the spring, some things that I incorporated. And I just want to let every speech therapist, teacher, anyone that's working within the school district know we are hard workers. This has been very hard on everybody because the dynamics of people's families and their life outside of school had to kind of like jumble together with their work. And it was not easy at all. And I just want to commend everyone who works within a school district, within a school system, because it truly takes all of us to get the job done. Do not beat yourself up about anything. Just continue to learn as much as you need to learn. Continue going. Continue being great, okay? Don't let anyone make you feel like you are less than. Don't let anyone bring you down. Protect yourself because COVID-19, I believe, is real, okay? Protect yourself. Make sure that you are protected. Make sure that you are, bettering yourself. Make sure your mental health is there too, because I personally know how it can toil, and that's probably not even the word, y'all, but I know the wear and tear that this whole pandemic has had on not just people who work in the school district, but anybody that's had to start working from home if you had not been working from home prior to. But it's different because there are still restrictions in certain states, and so that brings even more like anxiety and depression. Make sure that you're taking time to breathe. Get you some fresh air. Go for a 5-minute walk. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. Make sure you're not blurring the lines between home life and work life. I know it's not easy because some people have their own children they're going to have to monitor. They're still working for the school district, or they work a completely different job and they have to help their kids and try to figure all this out. Or you might not have a family and you might be living alone and you're dealing with the fact that you are working but you're alone and you don't have that closeness or camaraderie with your colleagues and different things like that. You want people to check in on you. Make sure you have a community of people that you can reach out to when you're just feeling bogged down, okay? Make sure that you're uplifting yourself. Make sure you're affirming yourself each and every single day if you can. I'm going to try to do the same. I am not cheerful all of the time. I do not have a good day every single day. I get bogged down. Things bother me too, but I just want to say collectively that I put this video out here because it was requested, and I'm so glad that it was requested because it's a conversation that needs to be had. But I just want to make sure that we're all okay. I want to let y'all know that y'all are great. Keep going and keep doing what you know how to do, and continue to be great. So I will talk to you until next time. Bye.